Please. I beg you. Divorce me and leave. I've inherited a high-rise apartment, and you're nothing to me.
My husband said this and got down on his knees. I was delighted and took something out of the drawer. Okay. Here you go. Divorce papers. I left immediately, just as my husband wanted. My name is Nancy, a 34-year-old office worker. I've been working for the advertising company, where I started working after graduating from university. At first, I didn't know anything, but after 12 years, I seemed to be making progress automatically. I am now in a position to lead my junior employees as a department manager, and work hard every day. I love this job so much that I can work as much as I want, and I found myself to be negligent on my private life.
You're in a bad place. You can't keep being a workaholic.
I was told that by a close friend, and
it's career women like Nancy who are accelerating a low birth rate.
I've been thinking I could be single for the rest of my life, but after being told this by a friend who has had 5 children, I started to seriously think about partners and marriage. Hey, Mom, do you still want me to get married?
What's going on all of a sudden? Do you have a fever or something?
No, I don't. I explained to my mother what my friends had said to me, and asked her what she thought. Then my mother laughed and said,
I didn't expect much from you.
But then she said,
But when I think about you in a wedding dress or the children you would give birth to, I get excited.
I knew it.
That's because it's about my beautiful daughter. I'm happy about everything. Well, my son has already fulfilled my dream of his marriage and grandchildren, so.
That's true. I have a younger brother who is 4 years younger than me, and he has already been married for 3 years, and has 1 child. Since both he and his wife work, they live with steady income. When I see them building a happy family, I certainly think marriage is a good idea. However, I completely forgot how to meet people. I don't even remember how to fall in love, because I haven't been in love for a long time. I even thought it would be very bad. Then a colleague of mine heard about the story, and decided to organize a group blind date.
You and I are left on the shelf, so be humble.
She gave me a warning. I guess she meant that we shouldn't be picky. That's right. I've worked hard at my job, but as a woman, I haven't worked hard at all. So here, I'll talk to all sorts of people, while watching the situation without asserting myself too much. At that party, my colleague and I were the older pair as expected. The men were all in their late 20s, and about 5 or 6 years younger than us. But they were all down to earth and easy to talk to, and I simply enjoyed this party. We changed seats in the middle of the party, and talked to the man next to me about various things. That was Mike, who would later become my husband. Mike was very friendly and cheerful, but not childish and didn't look younger. Moreover, he and I had the same taste in music and we talked a lot. We then exchanged contact details and we started meeting up. There was just a live concert of an artist we both liked in common, so we went to see it together. Then we went on a drive, had tea at a cafe, and went for drinks, and then got closer and closer, and we ended up dating. I thought I had forgotten how to love, but it didn't matter when I fell in love. We just enjoyed our time together so much. After we started dating, a year passed in the blink of an eye. I don't think a year has ever felt so fast. One day, he invited me to a fancy restaurant with a night view. I found myself expecting something, like, I wonder if, while having dinner together. The food was delicious, but I was more excited about what was going to happen next. Then he took out a ring from his suit pocket and proposed to me.
Nancy, will you marry me? From now on, we will raise a loving family together.
Yes. That's how I got married. When I told my friend that I had decided to get married, she was so happy she cried.
I'm glad you finally grabbed happiness, Nancy.
Thank you. Please come to our wedding.
Of course I will.
When I told my parents, they were both very happy, too. I knew that both my father and mother were looking forward to my marriage. Then we had both families meet each other and had our wedding. My friends and colleagues all congratulated us and I experienced the greatest happiness. Then my married life with Mike began.
Hi, Nancy, you're back.
Yeah, I'm home.
Dinner is ready. It's keema curry, today.
Looks delicious. I'm gonna go and change. Since my husband finishes work earlier than I do, he always cooks. To be honest, I'm not good at cooking, so it's very helpful. Also, my husband cooks delicious food. He says that he cooks from recipes, so it's not his own ability, but I think it's amazing that he can still follow the recipe. I think he is a very good cook, because his food tastes really good. Thanks to my husband's cooking, I can work overtime without worrying, and even when I come home tired, tasty and nutritious meals help my body recover. I felt very happy that I was able to get such a good husband. While spending happy days with my husband like this, I had no doubt that we would eventually have children and raise a loving family. However, about a year into our new married life, I had a slight concern. It was that my husband always carried his smartphone with him, wherever he went. I'm sure there are men like that, but he used to leave it on the table, when we first married, or leave it where I could see it, when he went to the toilet or bath. Suddenly, as if he had changed, he started always keeping his smartphone on him, which made me a little uncomfortable. I decided to take the plunge, and asked him about it, because it was happening so often. You've been clutching your smartphone all the time lately, but you didn't used to do that, did you? My husband was upset when I said that, and after he had shifty eyes, and he said,
Oh, so I can respond immediately when I get a work call or something.
I thought it was all suspicious, but I still wanted to trust my husband. Let's stop prying and not suspect anything. I tried to convince myself, and not to say anything else for the time being. However, the more I tried to trust him, the more suspicious things became increasingly noticeable. He happened to go to the convenience store late at night often.
I'm going out for a bit to a convenience store.
What for?
I want to eat something sweet. I'm thinking of buying some sweets. I'll get some for you too, Nancy.
Oh, thank you. At first, I thought he simply wanted something sweet. But he goes to the convenience store too often for that. Moreover, it only takes about 5 minutes to get to the convenience store, so even if he needed time to decide what to buy, he should be able to come back in about 15 to 20 minutes. However, he never came back from the convenience store within 40 to 50 minutes. So if he wanted something sweet all the time, I once bought him something sweet from a pastry shop on my way home from work. However, he didn't seem to be very happy and said, "Thank you," with a wry smile. At that time, I realized that going to the convenience store wasn't his objective. What on earth is he doing there? I was very worried, but I didn't know how to ask. Besides, he started going to drinking parties on weekends. Until now, he used to come home straight after he finished work on time, and cook dinner for 2 of us, but recently he has been saying that he has a drinking party with his colleagues, and has not come home until late at night, or early in the morning. If he gets very busy at work, and has to drink with his colleagues, then I would try to show some understanding, but it doesn't seem that way when I look at him. Rather, he seems to be looking forward to drinking with nothing to do with work. As such, the number of points that seemed suspicious kept increasing, and I felt on edge. Could my husband possibly be having an affair? I couldn't help but keep having these thoughts. I wanted to believe that it wasn't true. At that time, I was still in love with my husband. But my husband continued to behave suspiciously. He always kept his smartphone on him, went to the convenience store every night, and went out drinking on weekends. I was getting more and more frustrated, and it was rough. When I was having such a hard time, I received a certain call from a friend.
Hey, Nancy, you're not divorced, are you?
What's going on? It's so out of the blue. I was surprised to be asked such a thing suddenly. Then my friend said,
Your husband came to the real estate agency where I work.
Real estate agency? My husband and I haven't talked about moving or getting a house built. Why would he go to a place like that? As I was thinking this, my friend sounded a little uncomfortable, saying, the truth is, my friend told me a surprising fact. He had visited a real estate agent with a woman I didn't know.
I've never spoken to your husband directly, so I don't think he was aware of me. But I was at your wedding and I know what he looks like, and I recognized that it was the same person when I first saw the name written on the form, so it was definitely your husband.
Oh no, I felt like I had been hit on the head with a blunt object. My husband, in fact, was having an affair. There is no absolute evidence, but I guess that's what it is. My husband's suspicious behavior up until now made sense. I felt like I had connected the dots. I didn't want to think that, but I knew it was what I had expected. I was shocked, but I also got over it. Even I was surprised that I fell out of love with my husband. Then, I decided to ask a private detective to investigate to get solid evidence. I could no longer be kind to my husband. He talks to me pretending to be natural, but I would get annoyed because the affair flickered in my mind. So I was often cold to him, which got him stumped.
Are you in a bad mood?
No, not really.
Okay.
My husband looked awkward, and quietly went into his room and didn't come out for a while. Then my husband said that he started to get more business trips starting this month, and started to be away from home for 2 or 3 days a week. But I know. He is just going to his other woman's house. I found this out from the results of the investigation from the private detective, which I received later. Around the time I received the investigation results, I was ready for a lot of things, and seriously started moving towards divorce. However, something unexpected happened. My father-in-law passed away. I wanted to attend my father-in-law's funeral, because he had been very nice to me. If I divorced first, I would not be able to attend the funeral. So I once decided not to file for divorce for the time being, and wait until the funeral was over. After attending the funeral and seeing my father-in-law off well, I finally decided to say goodbye to my husband. However, my husband said goodbye before I did.
Nancy, I know it's selfish of me, but I want a divorce.
I was surprised that my husband brought up the divorce. Since the affair had been going on for a long time, I thought he was just playing around without divorcing me, so I asked, why?
Well, that's...
My husband was at a loss for words. He didn't expect me to ask him why. I think he is always too lax. The bad thing about him is that he doesn't think properly and deeply. Well, that's probably why he has an affair. My husband couldn't come up with a good reason, and said something like this.
I just aim to marry into money. If you are a director of a big company, I can have a good time. But I felt we grew apart and it wasn't what I thought it would be. Please, I beg you. Divorce me and leave. You're nothing to me, since I inherited the high-rise apartment.
He said it and got down on his knees. Apparently, when my father-in-law passed away, he inherited the room that my father-in-law owned. So he said I was nothing to him. How selfish he is. But I was planning to divorce him anyway, so I was glad that he brought it up first. With glee, I took something out of the drawer. Okay. Here's the divorce papers. My husband didn't think I had a filled-in divorce form.
Why do you have them ready?
Because I wanted to divorce you too. I told him. He was a little surprised, but said,
Oh, did you? Well, I guess it's a small world then.
He laughed and signed the divorce papers.
This house will be mine. Well, good luck with your life from now on.
He looked down on me, saying like that. I left immediately just as he wanted. However, my plan wasn't over yet. I had already rented a new room, so I was able to move right away. Also, I sent a certification of contents to his workplace. Then, I received a phone call from him immediately.
Why did you send me the certification of contents?
Well, because I need to have you judged for your wrongdoing, don't I? I know you're having an affair. I'll make sure you pay me compensation.
That's...
My husband didn't think his affair had been exposed, apparently. He sounded upset, but he soon returned to his triumphant attitude.
Well, I inherited the high-rise apartment, so it's nothing and it doesn't bother me to pay that.
Okay. Good to hear. It's about $40,000 combined for yours and the other woman's.
40,000. Well, I guess if I sell the high-rise apartment, should be able to manage that.
He said it, but he was quite upset. I told him a certain fact. I'm sorry, but I don't think you'll ever sell that high-rise apartment.
What? Why not?
Well, first of all, that high-rise apartment is quite old, about 20 years old. Since it's second-hand, it won't sell in the first place. Secondly, even a taller apartment will be built next to that high-rise apartment next year. Then the view from the high-rise apartment becomes worse all at once. So the value is going down rapidly.
What the heck?
He apparently did not know about it. Oh, and you will have to pay inheritance tax and such, so be aware of it. It sounded like he was no longer listening and did not respond. I thought it was enough and hung up the phone. Then I claimed compensation from my husband and his other woman through my lawyer. As I predicted, the high-rise apartment my husband inherited couldn't be sold, and he seems to be in serious trouble. I heard that they had no choice but to start living in the high-rise apartment, but it is old-fashioned and the high floors make it inconvenient and difficult to live in. On top of that, the maintenance costs are so high that they are having a hard time making ends meet. Even if they want to cash out that high-rise apartment, they can only sell it at a low price, so they can't take the plunge. I heard this story from a mutual friend, and thought it served them right. Meanwhile, I am living comfortably on my own in a newly rented apartment. I don't want to romance for a while, so I'm just going to keep working and I'll be a good daughter in other ways, like gifting a trip to my parents. Thank you for watching. How did you like today's story? Please subscribe to our channel. See you in the next story.